Hello everyone. Welcome to the YouTube Mall Builders Thursday Night General Hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mall railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the Tuesday night presentations, the YouTube Mall Builders, eMag, and the YouTube Mall Builders live show. I want to say thanks for everybody joining in tonight's show. And here's your host for the night, Johnny Reb of Southeast Rails. Well, hello everybody. Hope everybody's had a good Thanksgiving so far. Let's see, we got CG, Bell Fusion Enterprise, Jason doing this test. Got Jason here on the panel, Lloyd, Chris, Dan, how y'all doing? Alright, y'all can unmute your mics now and talk. Or have I still got mine muted? No?
Doing all right.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving? You didn't have to work today, did you, Jason?
Oh, yeah. Playing turkey. Oh, no, I didn't.
What? Cool Tropolis said I was muted, but I'm showing them I'm hot. Thank you, Cool Tropolis. We got a muted mic here on the panel. You guys couldn't hear me. Everybody else could hear me in the show, though.
Is that why Jason was talking to somebody?
Yeah.
I could barely. Well, you mic'd yourself on here, and I couldn't even hear you on here. But I was on the chat, and I could hear you, or on the YouTube, and I could hear you.
Yeah. We'll get it straight. I guess the hotkey for OBS is killing the mic over here too, but it won't turn it back on. Hey, Big Phil, how you doing tonight? Everybody saying Happy Thanksgiving. Phil said Happy Thanksgiving to you turkeys.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Hey, the eMag came out yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now you don't have to keep hearing the N-word, Chris.
I can't find an N-word to respond to that, but...
Yeah.
What about nice?
Yeah, I got a chance to thumb through it a little while ago real quick, and he's got one guy in there at the beginning of it, K. Wong, did some hand drawings. Those were good. So y'all need to go check out the eMag.
Remember, N is for N scale, and N is for November.
Yeah.
There, I did it for you, Johnny.
They should have called it the N-Mag, not the E-Mag.
We could do that if it just stays N scale.
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering if I'm right or not, because, you know, you get a magazine, you thumb through it. If it's electronic, do you still thumb through it, or are you scrolling?
Well, you still thumb, I think. No, you scroll that one. Never mind.
Depends on if you print it.
If you print that magazine, you might want to buy a stock and printer ink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coach Office said he had to get a new eyeglass prescription for N scale.
That's what happens.
Yeah, and I need to apologize. I said I was going to do the show last night, and quite honestly, my day got all messed up yesterday. I had to smoke a turkey, and I didn't get started on that till late. By the time I got done with it, it was real late. Of course, my son doesn't remind me of it till almost midnight. When you supposed to do a show tonight? Yeah, why don't you go find something else to do? A little late now. So I figured I'd just pop on in tonight and run the show. Yeah, just kind of let everybody know out there that's watching. Last night we had one of the fellas that he comes in the live chat here too, some Troy S. And he's an N-scaler, but he been working with Andy building a DCC++ system. And one of the good things about having a live chat going every night, he's having a problem. So he popped in last night. He was kind of hoping Andy would be here, but Andy's out. He's gone home for the holidays, won't be back till Monday. But anyway, Chris here and Robert helped him out on it. They finally got it going. Didn't take them too long. So if you got questions or whatever, it's good to come in the live chat here. See if we can help you out.
More than likely, it's a small thing. Right, Chris?
Yeah. Yeah. That was, we were debugging it, and Robert goes, "Hey, you don't have the right checkbox clicked for your connection." And that was the problem.
Yeah.
But that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Randy's Rock and Roll Railroad, McCarter. Does anyone have an open shelf helix like Roy has on the Evanston subdivision?
I was debating on something like that, but when I was with an HO scale club, we did ours out of masonite and dowels, but that was when we first started. We never really did change it, and then we just enclosed it.
So I'm assuming they build a helix and just don't enclose it. That's what he's calling an open shelf.
Yeah. But what Roy did is he doesn't have any supports where you can see it.
Huh.
Did you guys see the new video that Steve Bennett put out today? Or Rob Bennett, about that?
No, not yet.
You guys should check it out. It's actually pretty good. It's about that Shorty Parker's layout. He's in Pennsylvania too, and he models the Pensy, by Erie, and he's got a lot of fine scale detail in his layout. He does. He has an unloader, a big vessel on it. Some good detail there.
What's his name, Chris?
Shorty Parker. I think his real name's Alan Parker.
Okay, where did he post?
On YouTube. It's on YouTube.
Hey, Johnny, what was the reason for the question from the viewer?
No, he just was asking,
Oh, okay.
does anybody have an open shelf helix like Roy has on the Evanston subdivision? I guess he wants to probably find out how to make one or something like that. Maybe Randy will come back and let us know.
More than likely, if someone would do something like what Roy did, you would probably use 1x1s, and so you'd have 1x1 posts and 1x1 supports to keep the track up at your desired radius as well as grade.
So he needs to go look at the Bob's man cave helix. Got the one Troy built, and it's got the 1x1 uprights, and he used 1x1 blocks in between the wraps to hold it up. But Troy had it to where he could just take those out, collapse everything down, and make it easier to move. But DeBob's had to add to it, and he had to increase them because of the size of some of his cars. So he glued his blocks in once he got it set right. How you doing, Ron? Just another scale modeler. So we got Canada on the panel and Canada in the chat. Yeah.
Great. They're multiplying. No, we love Canada.
Speak for yourself. Yeah, we do like Canada. We're not starting no wars here.
That's why I said that.
You better.
Yeah. Brian, how you doing? Ari? Yeah, Cool Tropolis. I don't think he likes that coal loader. He says it's unreal.
Which the one I was talking about?
The Evanston subdivision.
Huh.
I haven't seen it. I've been watching.
Oh, no. Yeah, probably the one you're talking about. I just haven't been looking up here at the top of the chat one.
Yeah, he's probably being sarcastic again.
Yeah.
Knowing him.
There's another Union Pacific modeler out there that he modeled the Rochelle, the crossing, and a couple of other places on his line, all the way up in the Chicago area, and that was very interesting. And he moved down somewhere around the Florida area.
Yeah, Cool Tropolis said shorties. And Ron said he's glad to be off from work. It's Friday for him down there in Australia.
Lucky him.
Chris, what are you doing that's dead rail? Is that going to be that narrow gauge?
Yeah, so I'm dead railing my narrow gauge so that I can dual rail with my standard gauge, because I run 3 rail O scale, so that runs on AC power. So in order to make my life a little easier, I decided to put batteries in my narrow gauge locomotives so that it's isolated from the power on the 3-rail. So basically, in theory right now, I should be able to bring a narrow gauge engine in on a standard gauge track with a standard gauge engine running and have no problems. But the dead rail is kind of still new in the sense that,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of have to work out what you want. I still want to run DCC, so I don't want to get rid of that. Where some guys in dead rail don't run DCC anymore; they run the CV. I think it's, I'm gonna butcher it, CV or CP, and then there's the Del Tag system. The only one, and then the Blue Train system, which uses Bluetooth, but I don't like that because you're only limited to connecting to one locomotive. The only one that really uses, besides the C one I just mentioned, Tam Valley. So Tam Valley's DRS system uses the DCC decoder still.
Yeah.
But I'm contemplating building my own system.
Real quick, Cool Troutfish just posted a link over in the live chat here, so if anybody wanted to go look at Shorty's layout. Bill Fusion Enterprise dead rail. People tired of track electrical issues.
Pretty much. I mean,
I've heard of dead rail, but it's for G scale outdoors, which made life easier.
Yeah. So a lot of guys are pursuing the issue with indoor layouts, or in smaller scales, I should say. Because of that reason, they don't have to worry about wiring or, you know, electrifying, you know, putting electricity to your frogs, you know, reverse loops, any of that stuff, or a cleaning track for that matter, because the trains don't use it. But there's a big thing I've kind of wanted to do is charge for my tracks, but the problem with that is number one, if you're running LiPo batteries and they're multi-cells, which means there's batteries wired in series, you have to balance those batteries when they charge, so because they one can't be more charged than the other. So that becomes an issue. But what you can also do is you can run a single 3.3 I think it's 3.7 volt lithium battery and step it up, but you have to make sure that the battery can take the current draw from that, because the step up, you're going to have more current on the other side, so you have to account for that. So,
well, I know I used to fly RC electric planes, and when I quit flying, they were already coming out with high capacity, high discharge batteries. So they've come a long ways with those batteries.
Yeah. But I like to charge for my tracks, like I've talked about in the room, and like using like a roundhouse area as a charging station, stuff like that. And then I'd also like with my system, because it's I'm designing it. JMRI, I use JMRI and DCC++ still, but I like to be able to get what my battery's at as far as charge, what it's pushing out, that kind of thing. So, you know, there's a lot of variables involved with dead rail. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
Even if you went with a commercial system, you know, and I figured out too that, you know, you could figure out how to do all this stuff, but you got to remember, because you're pumping everything, you're putting everything into a locomotive, that space is a real consideration.
Yeah.
You know, because you're trying to put a battery in there, you're trying to put a decoder in there, you're trying, you know, all this stuff, and they're only so big, and it gets worse as you're in a smaller scale. You know, I mean, I'm putting these in 0 and 30 locomotives, but essentially they're O scale, but they're smaller than a normal standard gauge scale locomotive. But when you go down to HO, or I mean, N scale is obviously probably impossible, but HO even, you know, you're really, really limited to your space. And I'm talking steam right now. When you get the diesel, it's even worse because you only have the cab or the body of the locomotive. What some guys are doing is they're putting in, they're running like a maybe a dummy engine with it. So they'll put some of the electronics in the dummy, so that dummy always has to stay with that other locomotive. In some cases, that works. I know Andy's talked about it, and that's what Andy's doing with his one diesel line on his layout, because they're always going to be together. But when you're trying to contest different locomotives together, that's where the issue comes in. So it's interesting stuff. I like to play with stuff like that. So for me, it's like, okay, but
yeah. Well, as far as batteries go, you could always put those in a box car right behind the diesel.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Or if you're running a hopper, maybe bury it in a hopper somehow and put a coil over it or something so it's hidden.
yeah.
You know, there's ways to do stuff. You just gotta use your imagination.
Oh yeah. And we're known for that.
Right.
Yeah, a couple of them are talking about Black Friday, and Phil Wyman's over there. They won't know why aren't we at the Black Friday sales. One, it's not Black Friday yet. Phil Wyman said, LOL, we have a life. I'll add to that, we have a modeling life.
I got a bunch of emails about Black Friday, and not to take over the room, but I didn't really see anything that was a great deal or a must-have or anything like that. I know Train World's running some specials, some stuff. Charlie Rowe, which is a big large scale dealer, he was running some sales, but most of it was like ready to run stuff, meaning 027 scale stuff for underneath the Christmas tree, which makes sense because we're getting into Christmas season now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, Lloyd is waiting patiently for his turn.
Do we have to give it to him?
Yes.
Okay.
He's already paid for it.
Oh, you have to pay.
Well, maybe Chris, you can answer that question that I have.
What's your question, buddy?
You're an engineer, right? So am I, but
I'm not. I play one on TV.
I'm just going to show you something, and I'll ask you the question afterwards. That's going to be my. Whoops. That's going to be my. Whoops. Hold on. Okay. Okay. You see the garage door going up and down?
Hang on.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I got to find a way. Like I've heard about robotic gears and things like that. There's got to be a better way than using a third with a piece of thread to open the garage door.
What are you using? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm using a servo.
Okay.
Okay, but there's got to be something else that I could use.
What's wrong with this? Before we go down this path, what's wrong with the servo?
Probably the mechanics of it.
Okay.
Because if you look at what I've got, okay, this is just testing. So I just glued a wire on a piano wire, which gives me the right distance for opening it up and closing.
Okay.
But what I thought would be much easier would be some type of gear, and like a fan belt with teeth there, where you could roll up and down.
Okay.
Timing belt's what that's called.
Okay.
So first off, my first suggestion would be, because you need to be kind of precise with that, because you don't want to throw it too much, right, or move it too much.
No, exactly.
So a better solution to a servo is a stepper motor.
And a stepper motor is this what you're talking about. Hold on. Is this what you're talking about?
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Because you could put gears on that and do what you're talking about, or build a pulley system or a belt drive system, and you can precisely dial that with an Arduino board.
Yeah.
You know, so that you can say, okay, well, I need to go 30 degrees to get the door to go up, and then I need to go now back to 0 to make the door go down.
Okay.
The only thing, it's not like a servo. It doesn't kind of remember its name or where it's at.
Okay.
You kind of have to make sure that when you program the Arduino or whatever you're going to use to control that you keep track of where it's at, so that it could do the math to go back to where it needs to go back to put the door down.
Okay. What I intend to put on the garage door, on the frame, if you look at the frame right now, that's what I got.
Okay.
Okay. What I want to do is, once the door reaches a certain height, it's going to click a sensor. Like it's like a switch, long.
You're talking like a one of those.
Like a push button.
Yeah, it's like a snap. It has like the metal lever on it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've got the button and as soon as it reaches, it'll push it down. So basically, it's going to stop the door from going higher. And when it comes down, it's also going to hit one. That's going to make it stop right flush on the tracks.
Okay, but I don't know how you're going to rig that, but do you really need that? Because if you're using a stepper, you really don't need it, because you could just play with it and figure out the travel.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then once you know what's like how far you have to go to make the door fully up, and then what you have to do to make the door fully down, you just program the board that way, and the board just takes care of it every time. Now, what's one nice thing about using that too, Lloyd, is if you wanted the door to go up, say halfway, or crack the door, like if they wanted to let air in on a hot day or whatever, you can certainly model it with that, because you're using a stepper, so you have full control over that motor. I'm just saying, like, just to give you ideas of stuff.
I would have to program it to go up halfway, and that's it.
Well, yeah, it depends on how you're going to control it.
It's going to be a switch on the board, okay? Because I'm going to have 5 doors, or probably 6 doors to control.
Okay.
Because you're going to have 6 tracks going into the building. Okay, so I'm going to have, let's say, one freight.
I have a suggestion.
Hang on, Bill.
Hold on for a minute, okay? So I've got 2 tracks for boxcars. Okay, so when it's time for locomotive to pick up the boxcars, it's going to open up 2 switch, and the 2 doors are going to open. It's going to go get his boxcars and put it on the diversion line. Well, what do you call it? Anyway, it's basically it's part of the operations. Then it's going to shut down the 2 doors and open the next 2 doors.
Okay.
So basically, I'm going to have 6 switches which are going to control the doors.
Okay, well, yeah. So if you're just going to do that and you want the door open forward closed, then just do it that way, and then just use the stepper and, like I said, program. I really don't think you need the sensor, but
because the video I saw with the sensors is that there is no Arduino.
Okay, but you're using a stepper motor now, so you need a controller.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I mean, there might be boards like, you know how there's the servo controllers that don't have any Arduinos or whatever, but what you can certainly do, Lloyd, is if you're gonna light that building or whatever,
yes,
you can have the Arduino do the doors, the lights, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
well, that's what I'm going to end up doing, because on, like, for example, this here, I'm going to have a red and a blue light, red and a green light. So when the door is closed, the red light is on, and when the door opens, the green light goes on, and then the operator could bring in his cars.
Yeah, so I mean, you can just, use the push button and program it so that when the door is up, this LED's on. If the door is down, this LED's on. Yeah. But the stepper is your key.
Yeah, and the last question was, what about this motor?
That looks like a standard DC motor.
Yeah.
So
DC.
You'd have to really kind of play with that to see.
You won't have the control.
Yeah, it'd be harder to get the control. That's why the steppers, and you don't need an expensive stepper motor like a NEMA stepper motor. You can just use those cheap ones like you have, because they're like $5, and I have one, and I have no problem with it. The only thing that you need is the chip, because there's a chip that you have to have, so that Adafruit has a good tutorial on that. I'll dig it out for you really quick here.
Okay, I thought that those little motors, those DC motors, would do the job.
Yeah, but that's a continuous run motor, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's on Arduino, you can control it, no?
Yeah,
No.
but it's made to run continuously, not be start and stopped and all that.
Oh, okay.
So if you were going to run a Ferris wheel, just say like, let's just say a merry-go-round or something, I don't know,
Okay.
and you want a continuous thing, that's where that would come in. But you want something that's precise or has precision to it, so that that door doesn't get driven too far and breaks on you.
And can you control the speed also?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want the door to go up in like half a second. I want to. Okay.
Yeah, you can control it. It's like, just think of it as an advanced. I don't want to say that. Just thinking about it as it's pretty much almost like a servo, but the stepper could turn 360 versus 180.
Okay.
As far as raising and lowering the door, using a stepper, I just use a gear and a what's called a gear rack. That's just like a piece of bar with a bunch of teeth cut in it.
Yeah, I saw that, but I noticed that they were like 4 millimeters high by 7 millimeters wide, and that's pretty huge.
I think you can
find
probably
anything else.
You can probably find some others, but you can always cut them.
Yeah, but I was talking about the thickness, especially, and the width.
Yeah.
The width, I probably could cut it, but it's the thickness. Anyway, that's what I thought. That bar plus a gear, and I didn't know which motor to take. Okay, so that kind of solves it. I think, Bill, you had something to say?
Real quick, Lloyd, I put the link for you in there
Okay.
in the chat.
One other thing you could try is an air cylinder. Like you have in these little Lego Techniques, you got these little mini air cylinders. You have it on non-adjust the bleed for speed. As the air cylinder gets to the top, it opens the door. Then you want to close it, you just let the air out, and the door will slowly close.
Yeah, but he's got to wait the door
That's just
then
a
for it.
Well, that's another option to look at, too.
Yeah.
You could use an electric motor, but like I said, when you have it open, you adjust the speed of the motor, then have a micro switch. When the door gets all the way open, and click, it stops the motor.
Yeah, but if you use a stepper, you could eliminate putting another switch in there. So I'm eliminating that for space, and then if you use the stepper handles it all. The other thing you could do, Lloyd, is use a linear actuator, which is like a servo that just pushes and pulls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Say that
The only
again?
thing with steppers is you remember you got a zeroing function.
Well, that's
you
where
use power or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's where you gotta keep track of where it's going, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once it's set up, you don't have to do any changes, right?
Right. And what you need to do is you need to, in a startup routine, you got to kind of make it find its home, where it's a zero position, or I don't know. But as long as what I would do is make sure that the doors are always down, and make the doors down zero or the doors up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that way, when you start it up, if it's at zero, the doors are supposed to be down, and then they go. We'll just say 30 degrees for conversation sakes to put the door up. It goes up 30, and then to go back down, it goes, 30 minus 30 is 0, puts it back down.
Okay.
zeroing routine for stepper motors. Every time I work with stepper motors and a control assembly, the first thing you can do is the software tells the stepper motor to zero, which means it runs backwards. When it hits a hard stop, the motor just vibrates and it zeroes itself. That's how it zeroes.
Really? So you don't need to.
It just runs against a hard.
So it doesn't need a sensor, because I know there's an article in the EMAG the guy did for a turntable, and he used one of those sensors for the 3D printers have, or the CNC machines have, one of the two, and it has that mounted to the bottom of the bridge, and when it turns on, it kind of turns the home itself, and when it hits that, when the sensor read picks up on it like a stem sticking down or something, the stepper knows it's at zero, or the controller knows it's at zero.
That's one way. The other way I've seen steppers being zeroed is, like I said, they have a hard back kept running backwards till it hits that hard stop, and it'll stay there. And just the motor just vibrates, and that's at 0 point. So it depends on who sets it up. I've seen both applications. One using sensor, and I also seen one in which the stepper motor just run backwards set point, and then it just stays there and just give a couple extra pulses to zero.
But how does the Arduino know that it's getting that hard?
Well, Arduino doesn't. Arduino just keeps sending a signal running this direction, and basically it's timed out. It's a time function. Most of the time I've seen these valve backstep zero, it's just a time, like maybe 2 seconds, run this direction, and that guarantees it's all the way back down.
Oh, okay.
This was done before Arduinos. I've seen this, like, say, in a system for a ventilator.
Yeah. Yeah, Lloyd, we'll talk about it more when you get to the point, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just to show you what I've been working on here. This is my, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Is it too clear? You can see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I've got my building, which is, oops, really staying up here like that. And this here will be about here.
Oh, okay.
So I was practicing on a piece first before playing with the real stuff. Before damaging anything.
Before you get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Don't have something come out the door?
No. I got lights though.
Yeah. That'd be kind of neat. You have the door open and have something come out the door and then the door close on it.
Well, I've got a guy that's going to be going up the steps and yeah. I don't think so.
Bruce was saying with the air cylinder, you'll need an air compressor.
No, I don't want to make it too complicated. That's why with the Arduino, with the set of lights.
I think the way you're going right there with a stepper motor and all, you use Arduino, you'll come out a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you get it programmed, you're not going to have to mess with it anymore. You'll just use those switches to go back to the Arduino to activate the stepper motors.
I'll just need Chris to program a sketch for that.
Oh, sure, he knocked that out for you.
I know, it'll take him about 15, 20 minutes.
Thanks, John.
In between all of his jobs.
Between two concrete beams, right, Chris?
Right between two concrete beams, right, Lloyd?
Yeah, if you want to look into that gear rack, I'd look into plastic.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I just ordered this afternoon. Plastic gears and that strip there. What did you call it?
Gear rack.
The gear rack. if I'm going to play around with it. So it was pretty cheap. I'll be getting it probably at the end of January next year.
Wow.
So what you working on, Jason?
Working on a rail box car.
Let me guess, for contests that's going on?
No.
No? Okay. You going to get into Ron's contest?
I don't know if I was, because I was. Well, yeah, I have to do for it. I forget.
Whether a box car, you just can't add extra detail. You have to use what comes with a box car.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well.
I mean, you could change out couplers and you can change out the wheels, but
Yeah.
that was it. I mean, you can't be adding separate grab irons and stuff like that if it didn't already have it.
This one here, I think, is basic, but
yeah, he's mostly just, I think, I mean, I haven't really looked at it. You have to go to his website and look. He's basically just wanting to have people weather up a car, see how they do it and all like that.
Yeah.
He just wanted to make sure nobody was adding, you know, extra details to it to, you know, enhance it any. He just wanted to keep the cars stock.
Too bad I can't use these 2 Montana Rally box cars I've got.
So you about finished all your coal loads you've been working on?
No, I gotta take a hiatus on that.
Yeah, Cool Tropler says more about the weathering than the detailing.
Is that hey Johnny, is that including adding like graffiti and whatnot?
You'll have to go look at the website.
Okay.
That's Ron's trains and things.
Right now, I'm just trying to get some metallic look to the roof on this boxcar, because this was a little bit cheaper boxcar.
Yeah.
It came from trying to think, AccuRail.
Now looking at your base there, some guys were talking the other night in the chat because one or two of them, that weight plate that you got there,
Yeah.
you know, theirs are rusting up too, and they said they weren't liking that too well, so they were sanding the rust off and painting them. What's your opinion on that? I mean, it's inside and the rust really doesn't hurt anything.
It don't. Actually, there's some people just take that whole weight thing out of there and then just build a floor to it, and then just put like let's see here, they're called I forget what type of nut it is, but it's pretty much almost an ounce in weight they put in there for one of them. So, and then they can do all kinds of like detail in there.
Yeah.
They can open up a door and you can see the floor and all that, and all kinds of debris in there or something like that.
Or he's going hex nuts or T nuts.
Hex.
Yeah. And Dan Cooltropolis said, he said that you could use graffiti.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of E's there.
I think those were 1/4-inch nuts.
Quarter? I think so.
That's what my friend did when he was selling on eBay. He added 2 of those, one over each truck.
Yeah. I believe. What? I think it's Roundhouse. That's what they usually give you. Was a 2 nuts to put in there for weight.
And you just use there's a glue. It's not a real epoxy glue because it wasn't in 2 parts, but it sure held on like epoxy. And the only way you can break those nuts off from the metal plate in there was using a flathead screwdriver.
Yep. I think I put the Walther's glue on that.
Mm.
So nobody else is working on any buildings besides the Lord?
I just found a gas station that hasn't been built yet. And
Walther's kid, or?
no, this is old. I was digging through stuff.
How old is it?
You're gonna have to make me look at the instructions.
Oh,
1990s.
No.
that's not old, Dan.
What's the price of gas? It's on the gas sign.
We'll
It's
find
also-
out. If it says 25 cents, we're looking at least 1970s.
Try the 60s. It was higher than that in the 70s. I was pumping gas in the mid-60s at 25 cents a gallon. What got me today, we're out on the road, had a Exxon station on one side of the road at 216, had another station, I can't remember what brand that was, on the other side of the road at 239.
Yeah.
Now I'm sitting there going, gee, now which one are people going to go to?
Almost sounds like Phillips 66 in Meridian. You go right by Phillips 66, it'll say 270. You go over to Fred Meyer's on the left side, go right by it, it's just like around 240 or something like that. And they use the pilot gasoline.
Yeah, Bill put over here in the live chat that he saw a boxcar with some very bright graffiti on it the other day. Just how bright was it, Bill? Since we Lloyd started
You can see
that.
it probably a mile away. I mean, someone took the time. It was almost full car height with bright neon colors. I wish I had my camera. Took a picture of it. I mean, someone took some time to paint it on the side of this boxcar. It was no 5-minute job.
Me and my friend about 3 weeks ago, we were just rail fanning. We weren't really expecting anything, and here comes this shiny, brand spanking new, right out of the paint shop. No, it was an AC 6000. Union Pacific AC 6000. It looked like it just came out of the paint shop. Didn't even have a layer of dust on it yet.
That's
Yeah, I don't have any trains over here by me. I have to travel out a little bit, get over into Gainesville. Then you never know. Some days they're really flying through there. Other days you might see one or two.
We've been getting BNSF traffic here.
Yeah.
We don't know why.
It's all we're Norfolk Southern on this side of the state. The west side is CSX, but seeing a lot of the UP engines being run here now with the NS.
Yeah, that's all with that power by hour program that all the railroads kind of shake hands on.
Yeah.
NS, I think.
dedicated.
Go for it, Bill.
Then you see the occasional steam engine. There was one about a couple months ago I missed. Out Valparaiso, supposedly there's one that drives up and down the lines out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get no steam running here unless it's during the fall. We'll have a couple of excursion trains that they over at more towards the west side of the state and up north. They do quick runs in Tennessee and turn around and come back. Yeah, about half-day trips. Hadn't seen a steam engine run in a long time around here.
I'm getting excited about that Union Pacific big boy. It's getting more closer to where they're getting ready to start putting it all back together again.
I just got restored one last week as a model.
Are you impressed with it?
To be honest with you, I didn't even take it out of the box yet.
Wholesale?
Yeah. I got it and I kind of put it away and just been so busy.
Yeah.
You got to get life out of the way before you can play.
Yeah, that seems to be the problem, is life.
Don't rush it.
Yeah. I'm just about done. I've been showing everybody on the hangout side of this my 40 by 14 foot railroad that I've been planning on doing for the last couple of months. and I'm getting almost done with it finally. It's the trying to recreate somewhat prototype-wise the Idaho Northern and Pacific line that went from Emmett, Idaho to all the way up to McCall. But the line was taken out between Cascade and McCall. And there's another part of it that they owned back in 93, which was the New Meadows branch. I'm getting ready to work on that part. Just got done doing all the planning for the turntable and everything using the Atlas track planner.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, are you building this or what?
This is the plan. It's to build the whole thing. It's going to be 4 levels from the bench. Starting bench work will be around 40 inches up off the ground, and it's going to be 4 levels. The last time I tried to do this, just doing it in a 13 by 13 room, it was about 3.5, 4 feet off the ground. So I would have to actually have it down about 2.5 feet up off the ground in order to fit it into a 7-foot high room.
Yeah, Bruce says sounds like a nice project.
I'm hoping to run both steam and diesel on it. Not at the same time, but the way they did it back in the 20s, and then run it like how they did in the when Idaho Northern Pacific took both branches over with their diesels in 93. But today the New Meadows branch has been turned into a rail to trail program, and that's pretty much what's saving the roadbed right now. Because back in '96 when they were tearing it out, just after they got tearing it out, there was a massive washout, and if it wasn't for the Rails to Trails program that started up, that roadbed would have been gone. They actually rebuilt the roadbed.
Yeah.
And the hope is when the lumber gets out of the hole that it's in, that the trains will come back.
Hadn't you heard they're going to plastic wood now? Oh, you already got it. Home Depot's got it.
I believe it.
Got plastic wood molding.
I don't think they call it plastic. Don't they call it composite?
Yeah.
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 The lumber mill in Emmett is slowly coming back. It's been shut down for at least good 20 years. It's been shut down ever since 96. And there's been talk couple of times been talk about bringing it back online again. So, and then I looked over Google Earth on the most recent viewing, and there's stockpiles of logs there, and lumber's sitting outside the mill. So, time will tell.
Well, Bruce wants to know what direction from Boise area.
It's Emmett. For me, Emmett is northwest of where I'm at, and that's where my starting point is. It's somewhat a moderate yard because it did interchange with Union Pacific on both sides. It did interchange in Nampa itself, and then there was a town west of there called Payette, and they had an interchange there with the Payette Railroad Company, which Oregon Short Line had bought it and the Northern Pacific branch. So Union Pacific ended up buying the whole entire branch line system out. and they did mainly when the railroad was in Emmett. Emmett was a major fruit hub, so they did cherries, peaches, just massive orchards. They actually pulled 360 some cars out of Emmett in 2 months. That was a lot back when they were pulling that train out.
Huh.
They were doing like 20 cars a day.
Sound like people eating a lot of fruit.
They sold everywhere. I just hope that the N-scale locomotives that I'll be using can pull the train up the grade, because I'm planning on running the 25 car trains that they did per prototype back in the 20s and 30s, back when McCall was still part of the system. And then when that mill burnt down in the 30s, 40s, late 30s, early 40s, that's when the lumber shipments started to wane off. So they were only doing like 15, 16 cars out of Cascade every day.
Just make sure you don't have too sharp of too steep a grade on there.
Yeah. The biggest concern is the stretch that I'm modeling to the T, which is the steepest part of the line. It goes from 2% to as steep as 3%. That's the part I'm worried about.
Well, you can always lessen that, because most people are not going to know, that anyway. They just see a train going up a little bit of a hill and go, "Oh, that looks great." Unless you're a real stickler to keep it prototypical.
Andy.
Then you're going to have a HO helper on the end of the train to get it up there.
That too.
Then you can say you're a 3-railer.
Actually, be a dual gauge. Be like what Ralph is doing with his gauntlet track. Almost like it.
No, he's still the same gauge. It's just a gauntlet track.
Yeah.
I already said 3%. And N scale is fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've been talking about it.
Well, what are you doing here then?
The normal.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what.
What?
It's being a holiday. Yeah. Anybody got any last thoughts, or we'll go ahead and wind this one up?
I've said my piece, I think.
You what?
I think I said my piece.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I'll tell you what. So people are not falling to asleep. We'll get over here and alright, just want to say go to YouTubeMobileBuilders.com. There you can find all the events, all the show schedules. The Tuesday, Wednesday shows are at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The Thursday and the Saturday live show once a month is 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And be sure and click on the EMAG and make sure you got an email notification. So when that comes out, you'll be notified and you can download the EMAG. JD and his team do a good job on that. They got a great one just come out yesterday, so go check that one out too. Let's see. I think I made a little mistake and forgot to send Big Bill the update for December, because there have been a few date changes because of the holidays and people traveling. But next week we've got the 28th. We have Ralph's weathering show, which is bench to mainline. That'll be the last scheduled show for November, besides the Thursday show. We'll have that on the 30th. But in December, December the 6th, that's the Arduino show with Chris Holly. December the 12th will be Miles Hale's show. And December the 20th is Into the Locomotive Shop with Joe. But we had to move the fine scale, so that's going to be December the 14th. Will be the fine scale. So we'll have 3 shows. December 12, 14, and 16. 16 being the live show on a Saturday. Bill's got a surprise guest on that show he's not talking about. And we also moved the Ralph's show from the 28th back to the 26th. So December 26th will be Ralph's weathering show, workbench to mainline. Those are the 2 actual changes, is the fine scale and the Ralph's weathering show. But you go to YouTubeModelBuilders.com. The schedule is updated there, so it is right. And I will get Bill the new update too for December. But our next scheduled show will be a Tuesday, next Tuesday, and that's Ralph's weathering show, which will air at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Well, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving today. Got their fill of turkey for a while anyway. And we shall see you next week
Got a quick side note.
On the 28th. So y'all have a good night. And we'll see you later. Bye.